Hi, welcome to another live session of My First Job. Careers are never a straight line, they go through different ups and downs. And unlike the generation earlier, where people started in one job and ended in the same one 30 years later or 45 years later, depending on what they were doing, today's generation is experimental. And they don't settle down unless they have found something that they really like doing. The fact is that they don't stop with just one or two experiments. And our guest today, Ritesh, who co founded Beyond Loaf, is someone who has experimented with his career. And finding out what the results of those experiments were is what our podcast will be about today. Let's welcome him to the show. Hi, Ritesh.
Hi, Mr. Veru. How are
Hi.
you doing?
I'm good. Good to have you on the show. And I've
Thank
heard
you.
a lot
Thank you for
about
having me.
Beyond Loaf and how you've managed in a couple of years to. So, what do you think? It's a South Indian city. Chennai is a city which
Yeah.
is traditionally, so yes, there was this experiment about hot breads and, which started 20, 30 years ago. But what is it that got you interested in
Uh,
running something like Beyond Loaf?
Honestly, it was just the love for food. That's the base of where it started. But more than anything, it was during the lockdown where my wife Shikha, she started experimenting with making breads at home. I mean, no prior experience. Both of us only have prior experience in eating a lot of different food, but making it ourselves was not something that any either of us are good at. In some way, like during the lockdown, she found great passion for making bread. Okay,
Okay.
and I mean, no pun intended, but we wanted to see how we can play around and take it a little beyond. Uh,
Okay.
and that's pretty much how it started. It was just a bunch of random internet recipes that we started trying, and then we started talking to different friends of ours, different people, and we even just thought that okay, why don't we put this into bread and see what happens? And that's pretty much how we started.
Okay, okay, great. So we'll come to where you are right now, but let's start off with. So, were you one of the things that you do is in your blog, you describe yourself as, and please bring in any references to Shikha and
Yeah,
how she's, been a part
yeah,
of
yeah,
this
yeah. Sure,
journey uh,
sure.
at any point in time. But what was it that got you interested when you were in school and college? You passed out of
Mhm.
Venkateshwara and you're a mechanical
Yeah,
engineer?
that's right.
Okay,
That's right. Uh,
okay,
so, so I was always writing reviews for restaurants on Zomato, thinking that it's the right thing to do per se. Uh,
okay.
and somewhere in that, there was a new restaurant coming up, and they reached out to me and they said that, hey, we would love to have you over. We're launching a new restaurant. And I went there and I see this bunch of 30 other people who are also people whose reviews I had read on Zomato at different points of time. I reached there and I was like, wow, okay, this is a real thing. This is something people do full time. And that night I went back home and created an Instagram account by the name The Wee Panda. And that's how my food blogging journey started. Uh,
Okay.
so I mean, from childhood, I always my first thing that I would do when I would reach home from school or college is go to the kitchen and smell what's going to be and try to smell and guess what's going to be cooking in
What's
the
for
kitchen
dinner?
today. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. No, that I think is one of those. One is that you're ravenous after coming back from school, and the kind of
yeah,
appetite that you have in school is, can't be replicated later
yeah,
on. Unfortunately,
definitely.
there is a slide later on, but you
Yeah,
can never eat the way you could eat in school and college. So that's one
yeah,
of the
for sure.
things. Okay. So food was one of the things that interested you. But what were the other things that you were looking at? I mean,
Uh,
were you really seriously considering something in terms of a career, or how were you
Yeah,
handling
I
it?
always thought, like, I would always say on a weekly basis, at least 10 people would call me saying that, hey, Panda, tell me which restaurant should we go to? Hey, Panda, I'm at this restaurant, what should I order? uh, dude, listen, I'm going to this restaurant. Do you know someone over there so we can get good service? So on a weekly basis, I would get 10 calls, and this is at the height of my food blogging time. Uh,
Okay.
it's something that, of course, I lost interest in as well for different reasons, but uh, that's sort of where, I was like, okay, I want to do something with this. What that something is something I have to figure out. It took a COVID-19 COVID outbreak and interest from my wife into making bread to make it happen. And
Okay.
I'm grateful for how lucky we turned out to be that way.
But I also noticed that you worked for some time at Carrot Lane. So, what were some of the
Yeah.
other business ventures that you got into?
Just straight out of college, I worked in a visual effects company that was just starting out at that time.
Okay.
We did a few local projects. I'm not going to name them because we never got paid. Uh, but yeah, uh,
Okay.
so I was working in the visual effects company for a year. I was more on the operation side of it, where we would actually go out to studios and go out to shoots and sort of be visual effects directors over there. I mean, I would be under my founder, so I would assist him wherever he would go.
Okay.
Uh, Plus hiring, managing operations day to day, making sure that our work schedule is rolled out. It is uh, because about 2.5 years into mechanical engineering, I realized I'm never going to do something related to this. And when I told my father that, my father said, "Listen, you've taken up something. It's best that when you take up something, you complete it, see it all the way through." So once I completed engineering, then it was always going to be just trying to uh, work and finding where my passion lies, honestly.
Yeah. But
and and
Ritesh,
and
is
and strangely enough, food was a passion that continued throughout all the different things I did in life. So
so what is this panda as a nickname? Is it something that that you named yourself or your friends called you that?
uh, I honestly, it was the movie Kung Fu Panda, and yeah, my
Yeah.
my first name was
Yeah.
actually Kung Food Panda. Uh,
Okay.
and then I realized it's too long, so
Okay.
I just changed it to the V Panda. That's it, the vegetarian panda. That was the idea. Uh,
Okay. Okay. So you've never found being vegetarian, a limitation on your
Not at all.
explorations of food? Okay.
Not at all. Not at all. In fact, like with my family, I traveled to the US for about a month, and we ate in completely vegan or vegetarian restaurants throughout the month. Of course, not necessarily Indian. I think our Indian meals were the worst meals that we had in the entire trip. Uh, but
Okay.
some of the best food we had food. We had Ethiopian, Korean, Japanese, Mexican, and all at vegetarian and vegan restaurants. And it's not just the US, Europe, even Southeast Asia. Wherever you go, you get amazing food options these days, and vegetarian food's never a worry. In fact, they are more strict than us also.
Yeah.
So yeah,
No, that's the amazing part. I think uh, today's, which is a part of your generation, is
yeah,
getting a lot of inputs from global destinations. It's not necessarily
yes,
that you went only to the places within India or the thing. So travel and
yeah,
exposure to a whole lot of things has changed that thing. So okay, let's stick
yeah,
to
and
the
absolutely
career
like
bit
like
because I
yeah, sure, sure, yeah.
no, I just wanted to get a little listing of how this career journey evolves. What happened, and what were the stages, or what were the things that happened in between?
I know for sure I gave my family a lot of stress. Uh, uh, luckily, we've been privileged enough to be able to make choices that do not impact uh, our financial situation in any way. We've been lucky with that, and we've been lucky to get the support of our family to be able to do that as well.
Right.
So I give a lot of credit to my uncle, my father, my brother, and my family in general to sort of their first reflex response is no, because I mean that's what anybody should do, honestly. If they say yes once, it's never worth it, right? uh,
Okay.
but eventually, with the right amount of answering their questions, they've been more than supportive. So, I mean, after the visual effects stint, one of our family friends and I, we got together. We said, okay, virtual reality seems like a big thing. He came with the idea to me, and I said, okay, I can. I just came out of VFX, so I know how some bit of visual effects works. I know how to sell. So let's see what we can do. And we created like these amazing visual effects models where we actually went to schools and did demos where kids would put on a virtual reality headset and they would, for example, if they're learning human anatomy, they would actually be able to play with the physical model. And then at
Okay.
the end of their class, they would have a quiz saying that place the right body part in the right place. Uh,
Okay.
Something which is more visual, more practical, and more realistic to learn. Like I'm sure even now I get confused where my longest intestines are or where my diaphragm is. I'm still not sure. But I'm
Yeah.
sure if I learned it in a visual way, we would remember it better. But we also spoke to a lot of people. We used to cold call and cold email about 100 people every week as investors or as school partners or people who are in the field of education. It was a very interesting time because my partner in this, he had a full time job, so we used to meet at Starbucks every night from 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the night.
Wow.
We used to sit there and work, and then in the day I would get onto my tasks, of reaching
Okay.
out to people and talking to them. So that was very interesting. Yeah. Of
Okay.
course, we
So,
also realized yeah, it was too soon. So
okay.
I mean, virtual reality for education is still not taken off. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there is so much about right place, right time, and the
yeah,
right opportunity because even today, like you said, the point is that do you have the processing power? Is it
yeah,
inexpensive enough to roll out at scale in schools?
yeah,
Is it something that, because the pandemic really showed us the limitations of what online could actually do? Because while,
correct.
like you said, there were a set of people for whom online education was fine, there was a whole lot of people who had just one device at home. So it
Yep,
was next to impossible to
absolutely.
manage that. Okay. But
I mean, it has to be scalable at some point, right? So
yeah, yeah. So how was your pitch? What would you tell investors? I mean, you were learning. So
yeah, I
what was your
mean,
pitch?
we were learning with every pitch, honestly.
Right.
Like it started as virtual reality for education, and then it eventually evolved into creating modern pedagogy, reducing the amount of time a child spends in school, but increasing the amount they learn with every minute spent in school. So
Okay.
we wanted to pitch it to schools and parents, saying that hey, you can actually run your schools for a shorter amount of time, but the learning is so much more exponential. Uh,
Okay.
so yeah, that's what we
No,
were trying to pitch to them.
it's a good pitch because I think in the what do you say edtech sector there are a number of companies. It is one of the sectors which is booming,
Yeah,
but the one that seems to be doing really well is physics wala, for example, which
yeah, of
still
course.
sticks to YouTube and
Yeah,
lectures, which is accessible to practically everyone. So I guess
correct,
somewhere
correct.
there the accessibility now is still one of
Yeah,
the most important things to under. So when was
absolutely.
it that you decided that this is not going places? I wanted to, what is
So,
it that
so,
I'll do
uh,
next?
so before I decided to do this full time, I also had, of course, discussed with my family that they said, okay, go ahead and do it. It's something crazy that if you succeed, you can go somewhere, and if you fail miserably. But you can't keep doing this forever. So give us a timeline that how much time should we give you? So they gave me about 12 to 15 months. And they said that if you're able to do something and take it somewhere, great. Otherwise, you join the family business.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was not something that was on your horizon. The family business was something that you had your own path. You
Yeah.
wanted to do
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I always felt like because we have enough hands in the family, we could always diversify. And everyone was on the same thought process, that everyone was in
Okay.
line with that. And everyone was okay that, you join the family business. And then if you find something, you can always move on to that, so
So, what are the kind of questions your father would ask you? I'm a little curious as to how would he figure out whether you knew this would make money or not, or whether you had it in you to be an entrepreneur.
I think being Marwadi, you have it in your blood to be an entrepreneur. So that part of it is undisputable to some extent. Uh, so it was not just my father, his elder brother, and my brother. So I had three fathers who I had to answer to, plus my mother back home as well. You
Okay.
know, so uh, they would
You said
they would
it's
just ask
literally,
most basic questions. Yeah,
okay. Okay.
yeah. They would start with why. Why do you want to do this?
Okay.
Like what are you thinking? What's the thought process behind it? Why do you think that something like this will succeed, or why do you think that something like this should even exist? You know,
Okay.
it just starts with why, and then yeah,
Okay.
it's
Just to be
also
curious, what is the answer to that why? What is the answer you gave them?
uh, I said that it seems like this is the future of technology, where technology is headed, and at that time, this is 2014-15. So at that time, it felt like virtual reality is going to be mass produced by 2020. At least that's how it was positioned. Uh,
Yeah.
so we thought that getting in early, we would be at the forefront of that as well. So that was how I tried to convince them. Uh,
Okay.
it was
Yeah.
not
I mean,
exactly very
it's
successful,
obviously.
but yeah.
So, what is the carrot lane phase like? What was that about?
So
Because I
between
noticed that you have said that
between
you worked with carrot
yeah,
lane for a while.
yeah. So between virtual reality and Carrot Lane, we also had a print packaging factory uh,
Okay.
where these chips packets, masala packets, and all of that. We had a factory that would produce these covers, those plastic covers, basically,
Okay.
printed plastic covers. So I was there for about 3 years, but uh, I somehow never enjoyed the entire process. I really, really tried. Like that was the option given by my family that okay, now this is something you have to do. Now that you've taken 2.5 or 3 years to do whatever you wanted to do, I think you should try what we tell you to do now. So, uh, I mean, completely fair to them as well. They've been extremely supportive. So, and they come from a lot of experience as well. About 60 years between them. So, uh, I said, okay, let me try this. So, for about 3 years almost, I went every day to the factory. Uh, and I really enjoyed the part of how it how to convert a customer from there. Like
Hmm.
B2B is a different ball game in that sense,
Completely different ball game. Yeah.
completely different ball game. Yeah. So it was a great experience in understanding how people are thinking of their packaging. Uh, a lot of that came to Beyond Loaf later, and my partner at the time also was extremely supportive in every way. Like I really enjoyed working with him as well, but I didn't see a future for myself over there. In as simple words as
Okay.
I can, it was a very
Yeah.
tough conversation to have, honestly, because I got married in November 2018, and December, I went to my dad, uncle, and brother. I told them that I don't think I can continue doing this anymore. Uh, and they had this expectation also, fairly, that you just got married and you're just planning to get very unstable again. So I don't think. How many chances do you think we should give you? So it was a very uncomfortable period, but again, that's what family is about. They are there to ask you the hard questions, but also they're there to pull you out of that as well. So uh, just at the end of that, I said, okay, let me do an MBA. I thought, okay, let me just be away from everything for a year, go abroad or do whatever, and uh, let me just try studying for a year so that I can refresh my mind and sort of come back with fresh ideas on what to do next. Uh,
Right.
this is also about the time where I was reading about a lot of startups, and uh, that's when I met Mr. Mithun, who is the founder of Carrot Lane, at a wedding. Uh,
Okay.
so I told him that I want to meet you, and can I come meet you? And he asked me, what is this about? I said, I want to come work for you. Uh, I'm looking for businesses. That's literally what I approached him. So he told me his email ID at the wedding, and I emailed him, and he replied back that same night or the next day morning, I think, saying that, okay, meet me for lunch at Copper Chimney today. And this was a Saturday. Uh, I think it was the 3rd or 4th of May, 2019. So I said, sure, okay. So I met him there, and he asked me, "What have you been doing so far?" Over lunch, we had a great conversation, and I mean, I already knew him externally about how impressive he was, but just meeting him in person was overwhelming to a different degree because I never thought that the CEO of a company would casually say, "Okay, sure, let's meet for lunch tomorrow." So I he said, "Okay, join Monday," and all this while I hadn't discussed it back with family. So it was funny. So I had to actually, uh, as soon as I went and told my dad and my uncle, and they said, "No way, I don't think. What? How much more time do you need? Another year. Another year you want to give to this, and what will you get out of it? And I said, see, they're building a business. They're working at scale. They've gone through the stage where they were a startup. Now they're a full-fledged business. They've got 500, 600. At that time, it was 500 employees at that time. I think they have 1,200 employees today. When I joined them, they had 50 stores. They have 220 stores today. So just working directly under someone like that and getting paid to work under someone like that was like getting paid to do an MBA. That
Right.
was my pitch that sort of convinced. Of course, I had
Yeah.
to also take my elder brother to the Carrot Lane office and show him that, see, this is where they want me to work. And so that got them convinced as well.
Okay. So, what is that experience like? What is it like working in a company that was trying to sell jewelry online?
It was incredible. Uh, just the way that they approach design, the way that they approach selling to customers, or the way that they go for the entire customer cycle, the way they position the brand, uh, and the way they were merging online and offline. So uh, the entire focus was so much on making sure that the customer having an online experience and offline experience is at par with each other. Like nobody has a below par experience anywhere. I got to be in different sections of the company as well because of working directly under the CEO. I got to see some bits of the production. I got to see some bits of the finance part of it. I got to see some bits of branding, some bits of even how they're thinking of building new. So it's like sort of building new moats for the business, saying that, okay, now that we're good at this business, we've built the fort. Now, how do we build a moat around it?
No,
So,
and in other e-commerce companies, let's say very small article,
yeah,
barely weighing practically nothing, 2 grams and 3 grams
mm,
is a lot of gold.
yeah,
So if you were to send it through post and courier, there
yeah,
weren't systems available to ensure that the safety and the security of the delivery
mm.
was assured. I can
So,
imagine
so
the
the
company looking at, yeah,
yeah, I mean, initially, I think that was a challenge for them, but at that scale, it was very easy for them because there were logistic companies that were specifically working only in this domain of
okay,
jewelry and cash and gold and silver and
okay.
diamonds. So all of it moves insured. So uh, the chances of something happening is very minimal. And of course, that is something that only once you reach at a stage where, okay, we are sitting on the same table, that these things can be discussed.
Yeah, you have enough business to give companies of that size who can insure
Yeah,
it and then carry it and all of those things.
yeah,
Yeah, it's always that bit, isn't it, Ritesh? It
yeah,
isn't
yeah,
it is the early bit when you're trying to strike that match and find a flare and say that,
yeah,
okay, from here the business will take off. So by
yeah,
the time you were joining, you were in Carrot Lane, you were saying they were looking at scaling the business substantially. They were doing
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
pretty well by then.
They were already doing pretty well. They had 50 stores at that point. By the time I left, they had 180, which was a year and a half later. And in fact, so after we started Beyond Loaf at home during the lockdown, because we were all working from home, so one of the first people I sent a box to was my boss. And he told me, "Dude, this is really good stuff, man. You should, like, what are you doing with it?" So over the next few months, from say July 2020 up to November in and out, he would just keep asking, okay, what's happening? Okay, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? In December, he told me, stop coming to office tomorrow. You know, I think you should do this full time. Uh,
Wow.
I mean, of course, I didn't tell him at the time that apart from the time that I was in office, the mornings and evenings I was doing this. So yeah,
Okay.
that
No, but
that
that's a tremendous bit of. It's wonderful when you work for people who are interested in having you succeed, not necessarily
yeah,
in the organization, but
yeah,
to say that do well at whatever you're doing
absolutely.
because
Yeah.
that's what you're interested in.
I
Okay.
think a lot of it is also because you have to take that initiative to surround yourself with people like that as well. You know,
Yes. Yes.
a lot of this is chance that yes, those people
Yes.
agreed to let you be around them,
Right.
but also you
Right.
have to try. Without trying, you're never
Right.
going to get there. So,
Right. No, but like you said right in the beginning, you belong to a family that's been in business. So you
yeah,
understand risk, you understand what is involved in running a business. In a
yeah,
lot of Indian middle class families, that is practically out of the question in the sense that
correct,
business is frowned upon. It's
correct,
like
correct,
that is a risky thing. And the most that parents do is invest in, let's say, mutual funds or post office
correct.
deposits and stuff like that. Business in the real world, which is why I think you got a seat at the dinner table to see how business gets done,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that's what would
definitely.
happen practically every day, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, so we would always hear stories about how, like when my dad and uncle moved to Chennai, uh, they are originally from Jodhpur, so they're the first generation in Chennai as well. How they would go for deliveries in buses, they would go for deliveries in cycles, and every day they would look at their book of accounts where of course that time was done manually as well, and the day
Right.
they would touch a lakh in sales, they would celebrate that day. Uh, how there was one scooter between them, so they would decide which would be the couple who would get that scooter that weekend. So you'd hear stories like that about that. It's not easy, but
Yeah.
it's worth it.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think that's the amount of commitment you put into something, because
yeah,
it's not just luck does play a role, but how long can you continue to do
correct.
what you're doing. Maybe the difference is that the opportunities for new businesses was far limited, let's say even 20
Earlier,
years ago,
yeah,
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 than it is
definitely,
today. I mean, what
definitely.
you're doing today is something that was the corner store, the Iyengar bakery, which would come up with its set of
Correct.
puffs and pastries and buns, and
Yeah,
that was it.
that is it.
It wouldn't really go beyond that. But today,
Yeah.
you have not just the opportunity for the business, but you have a whole lot of ways in which the audience for this has expanded dramatically.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like a lot comes down to exposure as well. I've spent every summer holiday of mine in Delhi. Uh, so my mom is from Delhi, and the house is in Chandni Chowk in Paranthe Wali Gali. So
Wow.
when we would enter the street, we would be
What a
smelling
location.
jalebis on
Yeah.
one side. Yeah, we'd enter the street and we'd smell jalebis on one side, naan katais on one side, paranthe on one side, lassi on the other side. So we'd literally be smelling that for 45 days in a row, every single day. So just being exposed to like different food, different kind of cuisines, of course, enjoying experimenting a lot.
Yeah.
That's sort of this feels like a culmination of all of that.
But tell me, okay, this is a slight aside. Why is it that Chaat and Delhi and all of these places just taste so much better? Or is
I
it
think it's a lot. I think it's a lot to do with the water. A
okay?
lot to do with also people being specific about taste. Uh,
Okay.
uh, like one of the caterers here, told me, "Sir, you're only asking for taste in pani puri. Most people here, when we give them water and put some masala in that, they're okay with that as pani puri. So you are not my target customer." He told us very clearly.
We
Yeah,
can't serve customers like you.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but I think that is amazing exposure because if you've grown up in places where flavor is literally, it runs rampant. Parathe Wali
Yeah,
Gali is not known not just in Delhi but anywhere.
yeah,
Or if you go to,
yeah.
I forget the place. Is it Bose or Gupta? The thing. There's a place where you get chaat in Delhi, which is supposed to be. I mean,
Bengali
there must be.
sweets. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
Bengali
a ton
market.
of
Yeah,
them.
somewhere in
Yeah,
Bengali market, it's one of those
yeah,
places where, yeah.
yeah.
So, but then, when it came to this, was it mainly because your wife Shikha took up baking that it became, or
Yeah,
were there
absolutely.
things that you were exploring?
No, no, absolutely. It is completely like we were cooking different things every day
Okay.
uh, because we had the privilege to as well, honestly. And uh, she just took up making breads, and that's, I mean, like full credits to her on that. Like nobody had to push her. She did this like every afternoon. Like we would all go take a nap at 2 o'clock, uh, and then we would hear the kitchen sounds coming in from our bedrooms, knowing that okay, now the next 2 to 3 hours you can't disturb Shikha at all because she's making bread.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So, what did she make? What kind of breads was she experimenting with?
So she started with the very basics, like just a regular loaf of bread. That's how we started, and then she had done a course in 2019. A family friend of ours, Ritu Auntie, who helped us a lot along the way as well. With any doubts we had, we just call up and be like, Ritu Auntie, this is not coming right. What do we do? And she's a homemaker herself. Like she's somebody who's been passionate about baked goods as well. So she had done this course in 2019, but nothing came off of it. And in the lockdown, she just pulled up the pile of recipes and just started making them one by one. Uh, and then we started experimenting with whatever different, the beauty of a North Indian, Marwadi kitchen is that the number of ingredients and masalas and different spices that you can find in a North Indian Marwadi kitchen is amazing. Like we have an entire storeroom filled with those things, so we could just
Okay.
go crazy, just enjoy our time playing with different things.
Okay. So, what were the things? How did you arrive at it? Obviously, would have been a process, but what were the points at which you said, okay, I think this is something that we can build into a business? Did you
Yeah, so
experiment with? Hmm.
so she started making bread somewhere in May. This is when the full lockdown was still in full play. And when things started opening in June, she was still experimenting a lot. At one point, it became too much bread at home. Uh,
Okay.
so what we started doing is for the few hours that you were allowed to go out, we would take our car and go to a friend's house and just drop off some bread at their place, saying that, hey guys, try something out, try this out. Uh, and we kept getting good feedback. And our friends, our family, they started saying, hey, okay, I told someone about it. They want to know how can they order it. And we said,
Okay.
no, no, we're not taking orders for it. We just made some extra bread, so we thought we'll drop it off at your place. Uh, that sort of that was the first seed, and after that we were very intentional about a lot of things. We had a very good friend who helped us design our logo, our branding, our packaging. Shikha's sister, who was passionate about photography, uh, she made sure that our stuff looks as good as it tastes as well, if not better. We got very lucky that we had this network of people that we could turn to uh, over calls, and we could dunzo things to them, and photography would suddenly photographs would appear. Suddenly, we had a great logo, great branding, uh, and we always. My experience in Carrot Lane, I was working in customer support for a month at the most peak time, which was Diwali. That also taught me that how do you manage an entire customer journey? How do you communicate with the customer with as precise detail, with as little words as possible, but get the information across so that they have the least number of questions to you. You know, uh,
Give me an
like
example of an interaction, Ritesh. Let's say you
like
were handling a tough customer.
yeah, I mean, there were times from Carrot Lane or Beyond Loaf because we've had
Carrot Lane. I'm saying
we've
Carrot
had
Lane
tough
because that's
customers
where
in
you
both.
started. You learned. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
so So there would be customers who would have ordered for somebody's birthday, right? And the
Okay.
delivery date on the website would show that it will deliver after the birthday. But they
Oh,
would say that no, now that we've placed the order, you have to deliver it within this day, you know. And then the team would somehow rally together and make sure that the customer would get the delivery on the day that they are requesting for, you know.
okay.
Also, some parts of the chat happened during the lockdown when people had placed orders before the lockdown began, and they were wondering where is my order, and we would get some angry customers calling us, messaging us, uh, sending emails saying that where is my order. At a time when the entire country is at a complete standstill, people were
Yeah,
still expecting their orders to come in, which was a great experience to handle because uh, the customer is always right. No matter what you
right.
say, there are times when you don't want to entertain those customers as well. But it's also something that once you're in business, you realize it's so difficult to get a customer to you. Like the
Yeah,
amount of effort that it takes to bring a customer to you. It's one good customer can bring you another good customer, but one bad customer experience takes away 20 good customers from you. So,
very true.
yeah.
Very true. That kind of learning is something that you'll know only if you've been in the business, especially in a service business, where
Absolutely, and I always like people who are younger to me. I always tell them that like the first 2 years of your career, just work under a good person who can put you in different parts of a business. I mean, if business is your end goal, honestly,
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
like learning to do business is an art in itself. So
yeah.
yeah,
No, but I'm saying even whether it's a business or not, even if you want to learn a career, yeah, I mean, develop on your career, being in different parts of functions within an organization
yeah,
teaches you a lot more about what is involved in getting that aspect of it done. I mean,
absolutely,
how do
absolutely.
for example, why did Carrot Lane need to have showrooms when 90% of the experience is online? So
Right,
one of it is
uh,
confidence, right? I
absolutely,
need to, I need the customer to see the article before they buy it. And
absolutely.
that's like a huge bridge. So the moment they see the article, then they say, huh, this is not something that is just online and it'll be sent to me. I know that this actually exists. So I think there
Yes,
is a that kind of understanding comes only when you realize why is it that certain businesses have to be this mix of online and offline.
100%,
Lenskart is
100%.
doing roughly the same thing because they say
Same thing. Yeah,
people want to the thing. Okay. I think Deepa's asked me a question. I'll just show it to you, but I think you
sure, sure, sure.
answered a bit of it by saying, who are your early guinea pigs? Your own
Yeah,
friends.
I'm
Yes.
the earliest guinea pig here. So
But I guess you were the most willing one as well.
yeah, I still am.
So,
So a lot of people actually ask us that, aren't you bored of your own breads by now? Because now that you've seen it a
right.
few thousand times in front of you, and I always tell them that no, I mean, we always wanted to make products that you don't get bored of, and we've not gotten bored of our products at all. So
Yeah.
uh,
So obviously, and because you can make what you really like. Yeah.
yeah.
The other question is, do you source your ingredients locally?
Yeah, absolutely. Like as much as possible, we we buy everything locally. We
Okay.
don't import anything. So most
That's
ingredients are easily available locally. Sometimes it takes an effort. Sometimes it adds to the cost as well, but it's worth it.
hmm,
Uh, we also try to buy ingredients that are available locally but are also available nationally. This is
okay.
only keeping scalability in mind. That okay, our vision is that in 5 years we want to be in a few more cities. So
Right.
we shouldn't have to play with our recipes again
Ah,
or do R&D and experimentation again. So we try to standardize things as much as possible. Uh, but then there are a few things that you only get locally. For example, we have a product called Podi Bombs. So the Malaga Podi
okay.
that you'll get in Chennai, you cannot get it anywhere else.
So you'll have to export it from Chennai to any other
Absolutely.
location that you finally get it. But tell me, how did let's say if it was not the online era, the
Mm.
earlier thing is if you wanted to set up a baking business, you would have had to have a physical store.
Yeah, the beauty of online is that, at least in the beginning part of it, is uh, people can forgive you, you know,
Right.
for being new, and you don't have to open a store or open a physical space with 100 different products available. You know, we had the liberty to start with 5 products, and for almost 6 months, we only added 2 products at that time. We have 70 products today, but at that time, we had only 7 products for the first 7, 8 months. And we were successful with that. You know, uh, that's only possible online. I mean, the same thing offline, somebody coming to a store and seeing 7 products on your rack, they would
Right.
laugh at you and they'd be like, I don't know why they're doing this because they shouldn't.
Yeah,
With 7 products, how do they even expect for more people to come back and buy it? You know,
exactly.
yeah,
And the perception is very different, Ritesh. If you walk into
absolutely.
a store and find only 7 articles there, you think
Yeah,
one of two things, that you don't have enough stock, or
yeah,
that this is old stock and it didn't sell.
absolutely.
Perception plays such a huge role because of. And I think the other plus where you played a lot of this thing is to ensure that the packaging, the way it reached people, was itself the experience
Yep, yep,
when it gets to
absolutely.
online.
So yeah, yeah, absolutely. So like we were one of those first few brands during COVID who had an instruction card that came along with the box. Earlier, we
Okay.
never used to have these pre-printed boxes. It was a normal white box that we could. So my mom went out of the way on this. She would like wear double masks and then go to Saukarpet and source these boxes like while we were making things at home. You know. Uh,
Okay.
so we would just have these boxes, but we always wanted to give that little extra wow effect. So Shikha was very keen on having a ribbon on top of every box. Uh,
Okay.
and we would actually hand pack every box, but those ribbons were something only Shikha could pack. Like we
Okay.
could never figure out how to tie that ribbon right. Only Shikha could do that. Okay. So it was at that point, it was like 20, 25 boxes a day being hand packed with ribbons.
Wow.
Then we would add a tag to it. We would add a card inside that would tell you how to heat it, how to store it, uh, like what to do with that box if there's something left over, and what to do as soon as you receive the box as well if you want to eat it right away. So there were these few things were very intentional. Again, keeping that part where we wanted to make sure that we answered customers' questions before it came to us. Uh, like our branding was very intentional, our packaging was very intentional. We wanted like we could have saved and put it in a plastic bag and put a sticker on it. It would have probably cost us ₹3 where our carton box costs 20, 25 bucks. Uh,
Yeah.
but I feel like in the long run that has paid off for us as well because uh, when you receive a product, you should feel happy about it. Like
Absolutely.
we've had those experiences earlier with different brands, and we wanted to see how we can create that with our products. So yeah.
So, did you add all these instructions about how to eat it, how to store it, and all that before,
Yep.
or did you get feedback and then, or you decided that straight off the bat you were going to give these kind of instructions to people?
Yeah, straight off the bat, we were sure we wanted to give these instructions. Initially, we were messaging it to customers, but then we realized nobody goes through a long message. It
Right.
has to be made visual. So, yeah, very, very soon, like in a couple of weeks of starting, we had these printed cards with us.
And the early bit, when you started off, Ritesh, you told me that you used to take orders only on Saturday and Tuesday. What was
Yeah.
the what was the thinking behind that? You said this is my capacity, and why Saturday and why Tuesday?
Uh, it was simple. On Tuesdays, we would take orders for Thursday, Friday, Saturday. On Saturdays, we would take orders for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay.
Uh, yeah.
Okay.
And it was only to make people feel like, oh, they didn't have to wait another week to order.
Okay.
That was the
Okay.
only thinking at that time. We knew that we had one oven at home. We have only as many hands at home. And this is something that all of us were doing for the first time. Like today, if you ask us to stand in the kitchen for the entire day, we can. But back then, like 4 or 5 hours, and we would be lying down on the bed for like 10 hours after that because it was just so difficult, you know. Uh,
Yeah.
and it was so much more manually driven where we were kneading the doughs by hand. We were doing every single thing possible by hand. Even right now, also, we've only reduced the dependency on handmade things by maybe 5%. It's still 95% dependent on being handmade. Uh,
Okay.
so now we can stand for 8 hours straight in the kitchen and we can be okay after that also. But back then 5 hours and we would be dead on the bed after that.
No, this is
So
see one of the things that maybe you said, you just wanted people to order twice a week, which is why you went into that. The reason I went into it in a little more detail is only thing in advertising, in any brand, perceived scarcity is always a great selling tool.
yeah, I wish it
So
was, but we saw
perceived
it firsthand.
scarcity,
We saw it firsthand that
yeah,
scarcity is a great selling tool, but we also saw how quickly like it became a habit for customers. Uh,
okay,
in the sense that there were two kinds of habit. One was the kind of customer who thought that, okay, great, so I know I need to show up at this time and my order would be taken. The second kind of customer was no point, I'm not even going to try.
okay.
Uh, so
So
in
how did
that
you
time,
then change customers once you decided that you would take orders all the time, or you would
so
take as many? What was
we
how
would
was the
take
transition managed?
we would have this Excel sheet, which we're still using, fortunately or unfortunately, where we would color code the number of boxes we would have available. Until those boxes were filled up, we were taking orders. And we would have three phones on which Instagram would be open, and three of us, between Shikha sister, Riddhi, and me, three of us would have our phones open and one laptop open in front of us. Okay, you're talking to this customer, you talk to this customer, you talk to this customer. And all three of us would be, entering, punching in the orders. And yeah, that's pretty much how we went.
Okay,
So we would plan ahead that okay, these are the number of slots we had, and every couple of weeks we would try to say increase it by maybe one slot or half a slot, or you know we would try to take in more customers in that sense. Uh, it was a lot of fun initially, but when people slowly started telling us, "Hey, so when can we? If I want something for today, I really can't get something for today. Really, so those things started hitting us. Plus, in 2.5 months, my mom was saying that now you guys are messing up my kitchen. So I think you guys should get out now."
okay,
uh, so Shikha's first minions were my mom and I. So we were the ones who were sitting and working with Shikha day in and day out. Uh, and for the longest time, I think another 5, 6 months after that, my mom was still coming every day to the kitchen until we got enough people who then Shikha started training. And yeah, that's just how
yeah,
we grew
okay.
slowly.
So how do you manage your inventory these days? I mean, how do you gauge? It's based on the orders. It's based on
Yeah,
what
I
comes
mean,
your
it's
way.
because we do this every day, we sort of know what we sort of go like, okay, what do we think we can sell today? Uh, that's just the basis of what
Okay,
we plan. There's no math applied to it. There's no extrapolation of data yet. We want to move in that direction, but we still think we're too small, or yes, we're too hands on to not be able to do this as.
okay. But it's really interesting how one is okay. We call this my first job podcast, but I think in your case, it's been a it's been a journey of discovery, in the sense that
I've,
okay, I like food.
multiple first jobs, I would say.
Yeah, a lot of people don't have this kind of you know breadth of exposure,
Yeah,
or the
yeah.
contacts or the network that is normally available. So sometimes a fair amount of time is spent in just getting that network in place. But having got that, I think, like you said, on the outside it seems that it's you build a business, but you really spoke about it when you said 8-hour days when you're up on your feet and
Yeah,
you're doing hand mixing, and that's what it takes.
yeah, that's
I
what it
don't
is.
think people see that aspect of it at all. They don't see
Yeah,
the because once it comes out into the it's delivered home, or you see it behind glass or whatever in the
yeah,
showroom, the effort never shows in the
it never shows.
presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always
I,
in
I,
the
I mean, it was amazing. Like throughout, so we just had a baby boy about a month and a half back. So throughout her pregnancy as well, Shikha was working here because it was just something that brought so much joy to her as well. Uh,
right.
I mean, she's waiting right now to get back into the kitchen as well. And and like there are days where we've showed up at 5 a.m., 4 a.m. at the kitchen, or left the kitchen at 12 in the night, 1 in the night, and each of our product, like bread as a process, is a 4-hour process. Uh, like from the start to finish, it takes 4 hours. Like you cannot squeeze that timeline without, of course,
Yeah,
adding some sort of dirt into the breads. You cannot shorten that process. Uh, a lot of our customers probably don't realize that, and for good reason, of course. We don't expect everyone to be aware of how a loaf of bread is made. So they expect that, okay, I'm placing an order now. Why can't I get it in an hour? I mean, uh, yeah, definitely. If you would make biryani, we would give it to you in an hour. But bread was something that it takes the time it takes, and uh, it teaches you a lot of patience as well,
right.
because you have to wait. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that to a large extent is an analogy of how you know a career is, how life is,
Yeah,
because you can put in the effort, but
yeah,
the results in this particular case, if you put in this ingredient, you will get this result.
yeah,
But in a career, you can't just put in the effort and expect exactly the same results to come out
yeah.
each time. That's part of the.
Absolutely.
But it's amazing how you kind of did you think it would be so much work when you started?
Definitely not. We thought it's that simple assumption, right? Uh,
Yeah,
if I say it in Hindi, हो जाएगा ना उसमें क्या है? हो जाएगा ना. So you say, okay, yeah, it'll happen.
yeah,
But yeah, a lot of times the effort that goes in, like at the end of the day, you hit the bed
yeah,
way more energetic than when you started the day because of just how good a day it is. And sometimes you just hit the bed saying that I'm done with this. I can't talk to another customer again. I can't see another piece of bread again. That's just how we function.
yeah. Those parts are there as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think you're missing out on anything, Ritesh? Now that
No,
your days
absolutely
are
not.
nice. Okay.
Absolutely not. I think that we're very fortunate to have a great team who has our back even when we're not there. We're very fortunate to have great support in friends and family who are always there whenever we've called upon them. So I don't think we're missing out on anything. There's always something we'll miss out on, but I
Yeah.
don't think we regret any of that. We definitely miss out on something, but no regrets on any.
Terrific. I mean, it's been a real pleasure talking to you because it's quite a journey. Because one of the things is that there are conventional careers. There are people who say, or at
Yeah,
least they're seen as conventional careers, go into a corporate organization, do a certain amount of work, learn, take
yeah,
it forward, get the next thing. Whereas you've kind of at some point maybe you didn't know that this is something that would really be something that you wanted to do, but once you got into it, I don't
absolutely.
think you threw it, both you and your wife just plunged into it. And I'm
Yeah,
amazed that your mother went all through circuit and looked for the right
yeah,
packaging. That's the kind of
yeah.
help that I think only a business family could really hope to get, which is a
Yeah, I
blessing.
mean,
So
yeah, there's a lot of gratefulness there, and not just to the help we've had, but also to like our customers, who
right.
backed us through and through. Like we have some incredible customers. Uh, like so good that we often like we don't even remember the bad ones, honestly.
Okay.
Like we have so many great customers who just close their eyes and just say that, okay, I'm giving this to you. We know that you guys are good, so you'll make something good happen.
Wow.
Yeah,
No, that kind of trust is something, and at times that is scary because
yeah, very
it's
scary.
yeah, it's easier to be just a when you have that kind of a trust from a customer, the expectations are also very high. So
Yeah,
it becomes all the more difficult for you to manage
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Anyway,
like when we're opening the store now, so that's the biggest challenge that we are worried about internally. That we've built this trust over the last 2.5 years. So now, how do we keep our customers happy through this process?
okay.
Like yeah,
You'll find a way, Ritesh, like you've done for
yeah,
everything else before this. Okay.
absolutely.
So thank you for being on the show. It's been a
Thank you
wonderful
so much.
experience talking to you. And all the best for the show, the store, the expansion, and for your career in future.
Thank you so much for having us. And on behalf of my team and on behalf of myself, thank you, Ms. Deepa as well for having us here.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ritesh. Okay. So that was Ritesh, who's building a business with his wife Shikha on Beyond Loaf. We wish them the very best. Let me thank the people who've been helping me out here. Deepa Ravi, who manages all the creative and does most of the work in promoting the show. Vajad Banu, who does the edits and puts it up on screen. So all the shorter edits that you see of this come up from her. Do subscribe and listen to the. We try and have it. We have been having it every single Friday, and we look forward to you tuning in next Friday as well, when we'll be back with another career and another guest.